we came into the rain delay, and they were all, you tell the announcers were puckering because they're like, we don't know what to do. And they let the guys have interviews. And since they had no time to prepare the interviews, nobody wrote anything. They didn't even know they were going to do this till moments before they went on the air, from what I understand. So they just, like in the old days, when I usually stood at TBS. I don't know if I've told you this or not, but I would usually stand near the control room, but not in it, at TBS at the tapings. Because I like to, there was a little outside anteroom there where the fucking A2, the audio guy, he didn't give a fuck whether you're standing there or not. But I didn't actually go in the control room unless Dusty called me in. That's where Dusty was behind the table and the director and all the important shit went on. But I always stood there, 2 reasons. One, because I liked, 3 reasons. I liked to see how the television operated. I like to hear Dusty saying positive or negative things and what he said them about, so I'd know what to do and not to do. And 3, because every time the last segment ended early, he would look at JJ, who'd probably be standing over with him, get so-and-so a such and such, or get somebody and go out there. And that's several times on the closing 2 minutes of the show, you'd get a fucking bonus interview. Even if you'd already been out there, he'd say, Cornette, go kill 2 minutes. That's when I ended up in the podium with Ronnie Garvin choking me. That fucking clip we've talked about. That was one of those, we got 2 minutes. Go out and fucking do this. Right? So anyway, that's when you get some of your best stuff. But it was a mixed bag here because some of these people have never been put in a position to go out and actually say something on television that they weren't told to and drilled over and over again, right? So it separated the people who need material from the people who don't. And I was surprised because MVP was not one of the people that just tore the fucking house down. I expected a scorcher and I got a sunburn. It was like he spoke well with what he said, but he didn't really say anything. He didn't build anything. It was like he just was, a lot of them were just killing the time. Bobby Lashley at one point looked confused, like somebody was trying to tell him something off screen, and he's looking at that face, and then he gets the mean face. I think they were probably telling him to get a mean face, and it made him look even more confused. But McIntyre came in, picked the energy up a little bit. We saw a quick bit of when they got in between him and MVP and Lashley. We saw Jamie Noble, first time he's been on television in a while that I've seen. And McIntyre, you could tell, was the same way. He wandered around verbally because he didn't really know how to build this up and pay it off at the end, but because he was trying so hard, he worked himself up into a fucking decent emotional promo at the end of it. Is that any way to describe it? He kind of talked himself into it.
I guess
as he went along.
It was all right.
But even the guys who have little or no idea what to say when nobody has told them what to say sound more natural saying nothing. Like here, like Kofi and Xavier, they didn't say anything, but they had a little oomph saying it. But then I don't know, Big E or Titus O'Neil, which one I was going to bet on to have a stroke or a fucking hernia cutting a promo over this weekend. He came in and was over the top to the point where I was afraid he was going to have a fucking aneurysm. And if you noticed that we'll talk about old Titus in a minute here on the first night, but Strowman came in and he's trying to make up and tell the bullied and cold, stupid backstory that they've told, but he had no idea how to build, deliver, and pay off a promo that tells a story. So he would just blurt out some declarative statements and with a big exclamation point on the end of it. And then the girl interviewer would say, well, we're not actually done yet. So she'd ask him another question. He'd do the same thing. Staccato, boom, boom, boom. And I'm going to kill him. or not. And then she'd have to say something else to him. So he just was, he's probably never been in that position before, I would think. And then guess who saves the day and knocks it out of the park and cuts a fucking wrestling promo and tells a fucking story. Imagine this. It was no surprise to me as soon as I saw his lovely chubby cheeks. Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, and probably with 5 minutes notice of, hey, you're going to have to kill some time. He gets it because that's his major talent. Talking promos that sound like he is really talking. And whether he goes crazy with the indie wrestling sometimes with the furniture and the fucking Home Depot supply truck or whatever, but that's his thing, that he can talk. And he would you say that's one of the better promos I've heard him do on their television, because that's the only time it's actually been him talking.
I thought it was really good.
So, but of course, these are the guys with a wrestling background instead of the guys that have just, been taken to the performance center and, Anyway, Bianca Belair went 100 miles an hour, didn't say much, but at the same time didn't stumble over what she was saying, and it wasn't bad. I was surprised. Was Seth, okay, you might get this. Was Seth Rollins at one point when he came in trying to halfway channel handsome Jimmy Valiant?
I don't know what he was doing.
What was he doing?
It was kind of bizarre. He was very jovial, and I didn't expect it. Is he not the Monday Night Messiah anymore? Is that gone?
I hope it is. Well, didn't he switch? He switched nights. So now they're on, isn't he on SmackDown? Would he be the Friday night fuckwit? Instead of so maybe he had to get out of that completely, but no, but actually I wrote, has he been promoing like this, or is this just what he wants to do and they won't let him? Because it gave him some, remember we were saying his Monday Night Messiah promos are just drone on and just monotonistic delivery, to coin a phrase. And in here he's got personality, and I was listening to him for once instead of him sounding like somebody just woke up out of a fucking soma coma. Miz and Morrison kind of did the same thing. I've always liked Morrison. I don't know what Johnny Drip is, except I thought he got that cured. I told him the right doctor to go to here in Louisville. That was back in the OVW days.
Come on.
No, I'm it's just all these comments are for the purpose of comedic exaggeration. Trademark. Okay, so after the 25-minute, did you have any final comments on the rain delay promos?
No, it was one of those moments where you realize, wow, I'm a baseball fan. I'm used to lots of rain delays. The Mets just had one. But I've never had one during wrestling. It was the first one I've ever experienced from home watching on TV. I can't remember another one like this. You didn't know when it was going to end, so it was interesting to see what they were going to throw out there. And I think, although not perfect, that the segment really boosts the argument of everyone that thinks that there should be more promos that aren't completely scripted, because it was more interesting. Yeah. Seth Rollins, that was the problem. He was coming out there reading someone else's words with the Monday Night Messiah thing, beyond his screechy voice, which I don't know how much I could listen to that. But the material was awful. At least here, he was showing some sort of personality. I'm not sure what it, he's like Wild and Crazy Guys off SNL. I don't know what he was doing exactly, but I like it better unscripted.
And as far as rain delays, that's why traditionally, until it became a thing for WrestleMania that had to be, that you didn't really want to do a big show outdoors. Of course, I mean, probably the only city that I can think of in the country that had regular outdoor wrestling, pro wrestling on a major league basis for years and years and years, and it was a habit, was Knoxville. And they were, outdoors from May to September or October at Chilhowie Park since the 50s. And people would sit in the rain because it happened, a lot. But in most cases, if it was your big fucking show, That's what happened with Bruno and Pedro at Shea Stadium in 72. Right? It rained all day.
And that was a cold rain, too.
Yeah, because it was the first week of September in New York.
Yeah.
So as a result, they didn't do but a couple thousand people more than they would have done at Madison Square Garden, and soured Vince Sr. on that idea. But anyway, we used to have weather delays, on spot shows or, places in the summertime where you'd be doing outdoor shows or whatever, for just regular house shows, but nothing of this magnitude. And then the Bashes in 86, who was the fucking, I can never remember which country music star it was. It was in Jacksonville at the Gator Bowl, but they pulled the plug on him. And was it Waylon Jennings? Was it, goddamn, it wasn't George Jones, because it was in Cincinnati. They threw him in the shower because he was drunk to get him on stage. But whatever country music star was playing at the 86 Jacksonville, Florida Great American Bash, the rain was coming and you could see the clouds, and they had forecast. And back in those days, if you got the main event on, you didn't have to give the money back, right? So what their plan was depending on what happened with the rain, they were going to get 2 preliminary matches on and then put the main event in and then see what the fuck happened. And I think they got more than that, but the country music guest was playing and was still playing, and they're really wanting to ring that fucking bell. And finally they went back, and the phrase pull the plug, they literally pulled the power to all of his shit. So he was still playing, but then all of a sudden you couldn't hear it. And that was the way to get him off the stage. Anyway, rain delays.